What are we doing?
Dude, I don't know.
Do you need a hug? All right, let's do it.
So I was doing some research,
It's like therapy for us. You're just easing into not having much time on your hands.
and I'm stoked for the journey. What's up, everybody? My name is Pound the Table, Brian Boyd.
My name is that guy, Zach Gidler.
What is that, dude?
I don't know.
Pop, pop. By the way, I love our sound effects
Yeah.
that we're doing these
Yes.
days. They're just incredible.
We'll come out with another separate app just for that.
What's up, guys? How's everybody doing today? Zach, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good, man.
Yeah,
It's
nice.
a nice day out.
Ready to jump into it?
I'm ready.
Nice. Let's do a little housekeeping.
Yes.
So for those of you who are maybe listening, watching for the first time, make sure that you are following us, liking us, commenting, subscribing, whatever you do, however you do it. YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, at Two Dads on a Mic, Twitter as well. And am I leaving anything out?
Podcast.
Podcasts,
Where can
yes,
you find
thank
us?
you. Anchor is a main platform for us. Anchor is a new podcast platform. It's an incredible platform. I highly suggest looking into it and starting your own podcast as well, because they do a really cool thing with the Anchor platform is you can record straight from your phone onto your podcast.
I've seen that now.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Right? You don't have to have a setup like this, and you can just kind of talk about whatever you want. So Anchor, Apple iTunes, Spotify, every major podcast platform, we're on it, baby.
They've accepted us.
They have. We have officially been accepted
We feel
into
honored.
the podcast world.
Thank you, podcast world.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Today, on today's episode, we're going to talk how to connect with your kids.
Yes.
So Zach, how do you connect with your kid?
What category or what topic? It's a very broad topic.
Right.
Very, very broad. So, I mean, you almost got to pick a subject of how to connect. But I think building trust and a lot of work is how to connect with your kid. You don't just wake up one day and read a book and like, oh, yeah, I'm going to do that. Because I think you're going to have to try a million different ways. And if one doesn't work, you go move on to the next. If one doesn't work, you move on to the next. One might work for one subject. One might not work for the other subject. It's a never-ending learning battle, educating yourself game.
Yeah,
I think.
and I think that's important when you talk. I mean, you got specific with trust, right? That's a way of connecting your kid, and then we can get into how the hell do you get your kid to trust you? You know, so
You know what? On a side note on that,
Yeah.
so we haven't posted it. Or maybe we will. I'm not sure where we are in posting. But guess what my new favorite TV show is? Like, no joke. I'm preaching to people about it.
What?
Friday Night Lights.
Oh, dude,
I
told you, man.
Blown away. Blown away. I can't believe it.
It's so good, huh?
I can't believe it. Like,
What's the coach's name? Coach.
I forgot.
Yeah.
I can't believe it. Like, I've been like this on a TV show for a long time.
I told you,
and
man.
it's not just about football, so I'm preaching to people. But in regards to trust,
Yeah.
So it's like always about the dad, the daughter who's 15. So much that in the world of what I'm watching right now is in that world. But yeah, if you don't have trust with your child, young or once they know what kind of trust is, I think. And Arya's 3.5, about to be 4. I think she knows. I think she's starting to get a wrap around it. But if you don't have that trust with your child, I mean, it's going to be tough to communicate big time.
Mac doesn't trust me already, bro. It's really sad. She
You
just
gotta-
looks at me and starts crying.
You got to change the diaper. Hand comes up. No, the finger.
Hand in the face.
Yeah. Food's coming into the mouth. Can you imagine?
That's the Dikembe Mutombo.
You walk away, turn around.
Yeah, that probably does happen.
It'd be hilarious.
I think I need to do like selfies as I'm walking away from her just so I can see behind me. And
Seriously.
she's just giving me the bird already.
Seriously.
5 months in, man, and she just doesn't trust me yet. Oh.
Get ready, man.
No, but I think when you're building relationships, I think it's with the same with anybody. You know, it's with people, right? Making sure that you're speaking truthfully about the things that you believe in and stand for, kind of living up to your own values, right? And when you live up to your own values, I think people start to understand who you are. And when they start to understand who you are, they start to trust you. Mm-hmm. So as a parent, like when you think about getting Arya or building that trust with Arya, what are some specific things? And I'll share you with mine what I'm gonna plan on doing with Mac. But what are some specific things that you think you do to build that? How you connect with Arya?
Connecting with her, I think, is big on involving yourself in what she likes to do.
Yeah.
And letting her see that you do like it, because she's at the age where, we're surrounded by social media. I mean, just phones. And, we all like sit on the couch and like as she wakes up and she's like, let's say we're watching a show. If I'm on my phone, me and my wife both do it. We're working or checking something, but then we just, go off the radar and whatever. I think she can see that if we're not involved in everything she's doing, that's a big thing. But it's just at her age, it's really just paying attention to her, looking in her eye, and just convincing her that I'm involved in whatever she's talking to me about or doing. And then when I want to reiterate something to her, it's just repetitiveness and not yelling. That's a big thing I think about communication with a child at her age is yelling doesn't get anywhere, even though we all do it, and have done it.
Yeah.
But it doesn't get anywhere. But that's...
So you've now brought up a second component, I think, of connection, and that's communication, right? Mm-hmm. So now you've talked about trust, you've talked about communication. So those are two major things. And, I know myself growing up, I think I had a lot more communication with one parent than I did with the other parent, right? And I think my relationship with that one parent where I had more communication was much stronger, a much firmer foundation than with the parent that I didn't have as much communication with. And I found that true later in life as well, not just when I was a kid, but, later in life when I was, growing up, becoming an adult, getting into my professional career, and really reflecting back on that. I think that's another huge thing is reflect on the relationship that you're having with your child so that you can always make it better too.
Yeah, and work on it as much as you can at this stage, the younger age, because like everybody tell you these are the golden era of like you're building your child right now. And if you wait 10 years till they're 13 to like, hey, I should work better on their communication, you're going to have a lot more work ahead of you. And that's why, I focus every day on every single thing that I do with Aria, looking long term of like the investment of her brain and our bond and communication and what we have to just work at it now. The younger, the better.
Yeah.
Because you'll save yourself time in the long run.
Well, it's interesting. So, thinking about it as parents too, right? So when you're connecting, you can't just be, well, Zach, you got to connect with Aria, and Jess just does whatever the hell she wants, right? It's got to be kind of there's got to be some synchronicity there between the two of you and connecting with Aria as well. I know with Molly and I, one way that we both connect with Mac is that. Especially at night, right now, she's starting to test us. She's starting to manipulate some things. You know what I mean?
Interesting.
And she knows that if she cries and Molly comes in, right, Molly is going to be able to feed her. And so she's wanting Molly to come in. But when I go in, if she's not hungry, right, so in between like her feeding, she'll just cry because she kind of wants that comfort. But when I go in, I'm starting to build that relationship with her that, hey, I'm here to soothe you and I'm here to like calm you down, but then I'm out. So it's kind of like how we work together with connecting with Mac at this young age where we can't communicate verbally with her and she understands us.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So she's starting to see that we're both in charge of her behavior, but she's not going to just get out of it what she ultimately wants, which is that boob every 1 hour of the night. So it's interesting when you have to look at it from that perspective, and the communication is more of just kind of a hands-on, not so much of a verbal communication. So think about you and Jess. What are some of the things that you feel like you two do as a partnership to connect with Aria?
Going back to whatever. The more we can do stuff together with Aria that she likes to do, like last night was a prime example, putting her to bed. Both of us did it, like she bathed her, I was finishing up some work stuff, and then we both kind of put her to bed and read books. And you can tell Aria's just a different person. She's so happy and excited. But just that, I think it does go back to like, you're just building trust. You're always there for your child. So as time goes on, the communication will come easier for her because she can trust you. She knows that you're there for her. She knows that in any situation, she can tell you whatever because you're still going to love her.
Yeah.
So this is the early on era of the production of what your child is going to be.
I think that's awesome, and I think you hit on such a great thing of putting her down together, because it's one of those moments where you really just have you are so mindful of that moment, especially when you're putting someone to bed, right? It's just a very quiet moment. It's like it's just ending the day. You're reading books. I think reading books is, dude, when I talk about connecting with Mac, she gets so excited, bro, when I get out a book and I sit her on my lap and I open a book and she just starts like wailing her arms and like whacking the book and she just laughs, and I'm just like, this is the greatest connection. Like, I love that books are a connection piece for me and
Yeah.
for Mac and myself.
Thankfully, they're still around right now in kids growing up, and it's not like already give them the iPad and they can start learning how to swipe.
Yeah, and I'm going to tell you, parents, if you have a newborn or a little kid and you don't have hardcover books in your house, you are doing a huge disservice
Yeah,
to your child.
I feel like there isn't any yet, but if there are,
Dude,
like
don't do that.
books are free.
Yeah. Dude, and it's such a great way to connect with your kid.
Yeah, there's so many benefits of books.
Oh my God, I love them.
Yeah, it's very important. Aria recently, we couldn't believe it. We thought she could read, full on read a book, but kids, they know their books. They memorize the books.
After you were like reading it to her?
So she has this book, and it's not like a 3-line or 1-line book. Go to the next page. It's like 3 lines each one. She read the whole book, but
That is
she
awesome.
memorized the whole book. We didn't believe it. Jess told us, and my mom saw it, and we're just like, she just memorized the whole book, and she did last night, like half this book, just to just start the sentence, and she would just finish everything. I'm like,
So you need to record that and send it into Harvard and be like, guys, we got a
dude,
genius on our
yeah.
hands.
I'm just submitting this right now.
Yeah, you might as well just jump on it now because there's other colleges that are going to want her, and you are going to want this child in your school.
Here's a letter of intent. That'd be funny.
So individually as a dad, what are some I think for me with Mac, it's one thing I love to do with Mac to connect with her is I love to put her in my Ergo. And when I'm working around the house, I've even mowed the lawn with her. So I'll put her in the Ergo. I'll put the earmuffs on her, that I have, and then I'll mow the lawn. And she loves it. She's just sitting on me, watching.
Probably fall asleep because of the noise.
She's falling
It's
asleep.
a low bass hum.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, especially with the earmuffs on,
Oh, yeah.
And dude, she loves it. So that's one way that I can connect with her because she's not mobile right now, and I have to be because I have shit I got to do, whether it's the dishes or the laundry or whatever. So that's one way that I can connect with her. So I that's a suggestion that I would have is get something where they can be with you at all times when you want them to be and connect with them. If you have chores to do, then hook them to your body and go do chores with them.
yeah, anything you do, if you can incorporate your child if they're around, do it. Because if it's something that you have to do, let's say a chore, you're only instilling a good work ethic in your child.
Right.
I mean, we work from home, so Aria is always like, can I help or can I do? I'm like, yeah, sure. And there's times we're super busy. We're like, oh my God, I just got to get this done. But like, you have to take a step back and figure out, okay, I'll have you do this. And then all of a sudden you find that she took stickers off for like a half hour of all of our hangers of our clothing. And we're like, this is great. So it's just taking the time, invest that time early on to teach. And then as time goes on, it's easier for them to do whatever maybe you tell them to do. But it's just very tough in the busy world that we live in, to do that instead of just getting frustrated.
Yeah.
And
I think one of the hard things is going to be for me is as she grows up, and I know that this is what happens with kids is, you start to disconnect or maybe it's more they start to disconnect from you because they become more free, right? They become more of an individual.
what age do you think that happens at?
Well, that's a good question. I've seen it happen at different ages. When I was teaching, I saw it happen I think it happens differently at different ages, right? I think Aria's probably got some interdependencies right now where maybe things like when she gets in the car, she wants to buckle herself in, right?
Oh,
she doesn't want you to buckle her in, shit like that,
Oh, yeah.
And that's kind of their beginning of interdependency. Or independency, I mean. And so I think it happens at different levels, at different ages. But I think when I get to that age where I can tell Mac doesn't want to be around me, that's going to be hard.
Oh, yeah.
And I think I'm going to have to really evaluate myself and my relationship with her and not take it personally because I think a lot of people take that shit personally.
Yeah, I agree. And I think everybody, it hits hard when it happens or when you see it happening. But as long as you know it's going to happen, it can be a lot easier when it happens.
Yeah.
But it's part of, the parenting, and you just got to reevaluate and restructure how you're going to parent for the next 3 years because you're so used to, just like anything we do, what we eat, how we wake up every day, our schedules, you get brainwashed in a way of what we're used to doing. And then when it gets, a typhoon comes in and it's like all of a sudden it's changed with the child not being connected the same way, you're like, what do I do?
Right.
But you just have to then go back to almost ground zero, rework some things out, and it ends up okay.
And I think not taking it personally, so not thinking that you're like, what am I doing wrong as a parent?
Never ever think, what am I doing wrong? Unless you're really doing something wrong, like in the category of.
But if you are doing something wrong, you're probably not thinking like, what am I
Yeah.
doing wrong? Because those type of parents don't really reflect.
True. So yeah, I don't think there is anything such thing as like a wrong. I shouldn't have done that, or what was I thinking in parenting and making that decision. If your intentions are good and you want your child to be a happy, healthy baby, and you want your family to be happy, healthy, there is no wrong decision you make.
Yeah.
If you think it's wrong at the time, it's the same. It's the thing. It's like the learning. Like it's going to be a learning thing for later.
So when I also think about connecting with your kids, because when we think about connecting, when I think about connecting with Mac, I always think of like, oh, the happy times. Like I'm connecting with her. We're having fun. We're doing good things. We're going to the beach. We're connecting. We're reading a book. We're connecting. Mm-hmm. What about like when problems arise, right? Because you got to think about that's probably even more important to connect in those hard times, right? Than it is to connect in the. It's so easy to connect with people when you're having fun.
For sure.
Shit's easy, right? And shit's fun. And you're just like, woo, life's good. But when you're having problems. So what are some of the things that you've found yourself doing to connect with Aria when problems are rising? Maybe it's good. And you could approach it from, it could be problems with you and Jess, or it could be problems with you and her, or it could be problems with her and Jess. You know what I mean? Or you and your mom, or anything like that. I don't know.
I think it's knowing that when the problems arise or the butting of heads arise, if you can focus your brain on, if you deal with it, address it, the end outcome will be great, and that's where the connection will happen. It will happen in the third stage. It's like stage one, butting of heads. Stage two, talk it through. Stage three, the connection happens. And that's a very different category of connection, because that's like the building blocks of, again, like your child and the family life that you're going to kind of want to have. So, when I butt heads with Aria and she's frantic, freaking out, and just not listening, and knowing she's not going to do it forever, but it depends what mental state I'm in. I might get crazy too, because I'm just like frustrated, but you got to pull back. You got to talk it out, figure it out once I calm down, and then address it later of like, do you know why you were crying, or why were you upset about this? And then you explain, and they still probably won't get it, the right response, but they are getting it. It just takes time for it to settle in. That's
what I love about what you just said is that, and I think this is such a great parenting tip. Bing! Parenting tip number 1 for the day is that's probably like number 8, dude. We got all sorts of good tips. If you just follow us, you'll probably be, the best parents in the world.
Which we have a 3.5-year-old and a 5-month-old.
Right. We know everything.
We're professionals. Back off. People who have 4 kids and 15-year-old. Back off.
You don't know nothing.
Yeah.
We've got this handled. Oh shoot! Now I've lost my train of thought. You were talking about
when you have Aria me butt heads stage 1, stage 2 to 3. You're gonna.
What I love about your approach is you ask questions, right? Instead of saying like, "You're being this, stop. You're being that, stop." I've heard that a lot.
We all do it.
Right.
Like, I do it, but you just have to. What's the aftermath? How are you going to deal with the stage 2, stage 3, stage 4 of that? Because we all get frantic. We all can go off the rocker and just lose it and want to ask ourselves, why am I a parent? But you just got to bring yourself back in, because kids aren't going anywhere, and figure out how it's going to be the best options.
Well, that's funny because, and so I think asking the questions is such a such a great approach. Like when you ask Aria, like, well, what do you know why this happened? Do you know why blah, 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 right? And so it's giving her an opportunity to come up with the solution on her own instead of you just telling her what happened or how it happened, and it's only your perspective on it, right? I think it's important to hear that she does understand, and maybe she doesn't. No, Dad, I don't. I don't understand why you're frustrated at this, because this is the way I view it. And then you can have a conversation from there, and that's where the communication begins.
Yeah, and I cannot wait for the day where Aria does say that to me, where when she says it, like, Dad, no, I don't understand, I'm going to jump for joy.
Right.
Because I've now communicated for the past year of letting her know that I want to have a communication about whatever situation's going on. So I'll be super happy. I never thought about that, but she's like, no, Dad, I don't understand. Like, explain me, this. I'm like, oh my God, this is awesome. I'm at the next level. we're growing together, so that I can't wait for that.
Yeah, it'll be a cool thing, and it may be, I'm sure at first that won't be how simple the conversation is. It's not gonna be like, Dad, I just don't get why you're so It's gonna be a screaming match. It's gonna be like, I hate you, which means I don't understand what it is that you're trying to enforce upon me right now, right?
Yeah.
But I think if you understand that those social cues are what are setting you up for that success, to have those great conversations, then you're on top of the game.
Yeah, it's never not work. I mean, it's coming back to previous episodes we've had of just when you get married, it's golden for the rest of your life. You don't have to work anymore, but like that's where the work comes in. Like when you have a child, it's or if I'm just gonna have another child because it's gonna be easier, and it's like no, it's always work. But I love what I do in all aspects of life, in job and marriage and children are a job. It's the biggest job you'll ever have. I mean, that's what they say. But I love what I do. There's extreme highs, extreme lows, and when it's leveled out and amazing, it's great. I mean, like it's just everything for me. I love it because I know the end outcome out of everything that goes into parenting, the bad, the good, and and I just can't wait for the future too. But you got to enjoy every second of it too.
Yeah.
Because it goes by fast.
Mm-hmm. It does. It goes by super fast, and I think this topic is so awesome for those of you that may be struggling with how to connect with your kids. I hope we've been able to give some good insight if you're struggling connecting with your kids. Literally, just take some time. Spend it doing, I think some of the takeaways are spend doing time of the things they love to do. Not what you want them to do, right?
But give 100% attention. Give as much attention as you can when you're going to commit the time to your kid.
Yeah.
Don't think like I got to answer emails and I do this, or I got to check Instagram or Facebook. Because again, I do this. I'm not saying I don't. But the more I tell myself that I do this, the more I really try to not do it, like focus as much attention at that moment with your child, with whatever you're doing, as you can. Yeah. That's the key.
So I think you're hitting on a topic called mindfulness. So I'm reading a book right now. It's called The Mindful Leader. And mindfulness is it's kind of a hot topic right now in the business world. And basically what mindfulness is, it's all about what you're talking about, Zach, and that's being present in the moment. And whatever's happening in that moment is what you should be focused on, and you should have no exterior focus whatsoever. And it's a very difficult thing to do.
Very tough.
It's extremely difficult. It's just like anything. It takes practice, and it takes training, and it takes a lot of conviction within yourself to be aware that you are not mindful in order to become mindful. Yeah. So I love what you're talking about there, man. It really resonates with me personally and what I'm trying to focus on myself.
Yeah, it's very tough to do. I mean, again, I don't do it all the time, but it's a very tough thing to do. But child, wife, significant other, they know when you're not putting 100% in, and it will over time, go into that hangout was like okay. You want to have amazingness every time you hang out, whether it's on a date, whether it's, playing Play-Doh with your child. You really want to focus. And it's it's probably the hardest thing I have to do because we run
You can't
all
focus on shit, bro.
I know. Because we also run all of our businesses from home. Like, that's the blessing and the curse of running your own business from house. And like, you go to a job when you're done with that job. Sometimes but a lot of times you don't have to take that job home.
Yeah.
Brill you take home.
Yeah.
And so that's the double-edged sword of like owning your own business. It's like,
yeah.
it'd be cool if I could just go to 9 to 5, come home, and I'm done. I can't. Then I'd be I can't wait for the weekend kind of guy. But it's like every day's work for me. So every day could be a weekend if I choose, or it couldn't. So just devote whatever you do with spouse or baby as much that focused energy as you can is key.
Cool. So I hope everybody got a little bit of how to connect with your kids. If you have questions about how to connect or you want maybe some insight from us, we're not professionals by any means, but we'd love to have that conversation and continue this conversation. It's such a rad topic because the most important thing that you can do in your parenting realm is to connect with your kids. That's why you became I would imagine that's why most people became parents, right? Or most people enjoy parenting is because they actually have great connections with their children. Mm-hmm. Leave us any comments about this, any suggestions, any other things that you do specifically to connect with your kids, because I would love to know what other people do to connect with their kids. I think, Zach, when we posted on the Instagram, you dressing up in the clown costume, that's like next level connecting with your kid, right? That's like thinking outside the box and making yourself so vulnerable to criticism and critique from other parents or whatever it may be. People just thinking like, I could never do that. Well, you can.
Yeah, but you can. It's just your choice. You have a choice in anything you do. You can. You just chose not to do it. But it's the investment. I actually like to do these things with my child. I don't care. Like, the goofier the better, because one, I like it. Two, the investment that it's going to bring for future is ridiculous. I mean, my kid's a very goofy, outgoing, crazy kid. Hence, that's who we are. And it's best of both worlds for me. I love it.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. So connect with your kids, people. Make sure you do the things. Take the time. Be mindful in the moment with them. And just make sure that you love on them every single day. We hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Awesome topic, buddy.
Yeah.
Really appreciate it. I got a dad joke for you to end the episode.
Okay.
What do you call a person who sees a robbery in an Apple store?
I don't know.
Eyewitness.
That's good. All right, I'll bring up my favorite joke that I used at another one.
Okay.
Have you seen the movie about constipation?
No.
That's because it hasn't come out yet.
Oh, that's a good one, dude. That's a great one.
That was we did. It's my favorite joke in the world, and I just heard it like a month ago.
So thanks everybody for hanging out. Thanks everybody for listening. Make sure you subscribe if you enjoy our content. Not only subscribe, like, comment, whatever, but please share as well.
True.
We're trying to really continue to build this platform. We've been doing this for about 6 months now, buddy. So happy half-year anniversary to you. And please share the content with us. We have people just it's just been so awesome to see the people that have enjoyed our content, the comments they're giving us, the shout outs they're giving us, the applause that they're giving us. And we look forward to seeing you guys next time on Two Dads on a Mic. My name is Brian Boyd.
And I'm Zach Gidlow.
And we out.